Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is July 9th, 2025. I want to say thank you to the new subscribers and hope all of you watching this will hit the like and subscribe button. Uh, and as always, please feel free to comment, disagree, fact check me, whatever. I don't believe in echo chambers, so say whatever your piece is in the comment section. I love to read the comments. Okay, want to get to today's topic. Today's topic is: was Winston Churchill the real big bad guy in World War II? If you're wondering why I'm talking about this, it's because on the MAGA right podcast circuit, I will incredibly loosely use this term historians. By the way, I was a history major in college, so this matters to me personally. Are going around, they're going on Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson. They're saying, no, 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 it was really Winston Churchill who was the villain in World War II, and Adolf Hitler is really just misunderstood. The basics of the argument are that in May of 1940, May and early June, as Germany is overrunning France, Hitler reaches out to Churchill, who had only recently become the prime minister, and says, hey, let's enter into peace negotiations and let's get a peace deal. And at that time, it is true that Hitler's intention was to sign some sort of peace agreement with Britain, of course, one that would be highly favorable to Germany, so that he could turn his attention eastward to begin pursuing his plans in Eastern Europe, notably the Soviet Union. He did not want to have an active fight with the British while he was preparing for his fight with the Soviets. And so the idea is Winston Churchill, of course, refused. And if you saw the movie The Darkest Hour, that's what it's all about. But he what was it he said? You do not negotiate with a tiger while your head is in its mouth. But he understood the pointlessness of the negotiations and just said he wouldn't do it. And there were certainly voices in Britain that wanted him to. And so the idea is that this proves that it was really Churchill who drove World War II, and it was not, in fact, Hitler, because after all, Hitler was seeking peace with Britain. Okay, so let's examine this claim. Let's start with this idea that it was really Churchill who does this. Well, let's go back to 1938. This is before World War II begins. World War II begins September 1st, 1939, when Nazi Germany invades Poland. Operation called Case White. Let's back up to 1938 and the Sudetenland crisis. In 1938, Adolf Hitler is saying we have to have Germany, Nazi Germany has to have the Sudetenland, which was part of Czechoslovakia, that was home to, I think, something along the lines of 3 million ethnic Germans. And he said, you've got to give that to us. That's part of it, and we're ready to go to war to get it. And so Germany, France, and Britain have the famous Munich Conference. The Czechoslovakian delegation is there, and they're told they have to wait in the hallway. They will not be allowed to be part of the discussion. And a peace agreement is made between Britain, France, and Germany. And France and Britain say, all right, Germany, you get the Sudetenland. Czechoslovakia, you have to just suck it up and take it, because we are not going to war over this, and we're going to stay out of this war, and we will have peace. And Neville Chamberlain flies back to Great Britain and famously declares, peace in our time. So let's start this analysis with the idea that, the historical fact that Britain had a peace agreement with Hitler in September of 1938. The following March, Germany overruns all the rest of Czechoslovakia and turns it into, they call it the Reichsprotectorate of Bohemia and Moravia. So they violate the hell out of the peace agreement within 6-7 months. Okay, so fast forward now to the summer of 1939. Poland goes into negotiations with Germany because they're getting nervous. They're nervous about the Soviet Union. They're nervous about the Germans. The Germans do negotiations with them about potential alliances. Finally, the Germans break them off. At the same time, the Germans are negotiating with the Soviet Union, which will result in the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which is a pact between Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. And this will become very relevant in a minute. But I want to establish this happens in the summer of 1939. September 1st, Germany invades Poland, who they had been negotiating with over the summer for various military agreements, alliances, peace deals, things like that. They've been talking about a whole host of issues. So let's talk about what Germany's record is as of September 1st. They have now violated the hell out of the Munich peace agreement they had with the British. They have now invaded a country with whom they were negotiating just literally weeks earlier. I'm sorry, I forgot something else. Upon the invasion, the British issue an ultimatum to the Germans. They say, pull your armies back and we will maintain peace. If you do not pull your armies back, we are at war. Germany does not pull their armies back. So now the British have had a peace agreement with the Germans have violated. They have now offered a second peace agreement or peace to the Germans, saying pull out of Poland, and we'll call it that. And the Germans have invaded a country with whom they were negotiating agreements literally weeks earlier. Okay, so World War II is now going. Britain and France go to war with Germany. What does the rest of Europe do? Well, Denmark, Norway, Luxembourg, Belgium, and the Netherlands all declare neutrality. All of them. They all say we are neutral. We want out of this war. We do not want anything to do with it. Nazi Germany, we will not oppose you. We will not support you. We will not fight on your side, but we are not going to fight against you either. We will be neutral. You can trade with us. We will buy products from you. You can buy products from us. We will not do any military support, but we will not be a problem for you. We will not allow, British planes to use our airfields or French ships to use our ports or anything like that. Excuse me. All of those countries, all of them are invaded by Nazi Germany within 9 months and conquered. So that's what, 5 countries I think I just listed? So we have Poland enters into negotiations, gets invaded. A peace agreement is made about Czechoslovakia. They get invaded. 5 countries have now declared neutrality, and they've all been invaded. And when Britain at the beginning of September had said, pull back your armies and we'll maintain peace, it was denied. Okay, so let's move forward to May of 1940. At this point, the Germans invade France, and this is a very key moment because, again, remember, this argument is that it's Winston Churchill who's the problem. Winston Churchill has not been the Prime Minister of Great Britain through all of this. It has been Neville Chamberlain the whole time, the guy who said peace in our time. Winston Churchill finally becomes, Winston Churchill's just been a member of Parliament. He did not hold a cabinet post or anything like that. He finally becomes the Prime Minister because basically British Parliament says, oh crap, we need a wartime leader, and if you need a tough bulldog for a fight, that's Winston. So they put him in charge. And this is about when Hitler then makes his peace offer to Great Britain. So if you're Winston Churchill, you're saying 5 countries declared neutrality and you invaded all of them. You signed peace agreements with us, you broke it. We offered you peace after you invaded Poland, you broke it. Poland tried to negotiate peace with you and you invaded them. No, I'm not going to do this discussion with you. Okay, so that's what Churchill knew at the time. So again, the claim is that, Churchill, all he had to do was go into these negotiations, would have had a peace agreement, we would have avoided World War II. Now let's look at this from hindsight. We've looked at it based on what Churchill knew at the time. Remember I mentioned a few minutes ago the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which is the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany did a deal. In the deal, it agreed a lot of economic cooperation, military cooperation. The Soviet Union was going to provide all kinds of metals and most importantly oil for Nazi Germany. There was also the deal that the Soviets would have a free hand to take over Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, which they did, and that the 2 countries would divide up Poland, where Germany was going to get a little over half of Poland and the Soviet Union would get a little bit less than half of Poland. The Soviet Union invaded Poland as part of their pact with Nazi Germany in the middle of September 1939. They massacred Polish prisoners. I mean, it was as bad as it gets. And here's the funny thing. Stalin honored every bit of that pact. Everything he was supposed to do for Nazi Germany, he did. Everything Adolf Hitler was supposed to get, he got. Make no mistake, Adolf Hitler's most important ally the first 2 years of World War II is not Italy and it's not Mussolini. It's Joseph Stalin and the Soviet Union. Joseph Stalin did everything he could to enable Adolf Hitler's war on Western Europe because it gave Stalin a free hand in Eastern Europe. So before all the people start saying, Stalin and the Soviets, they were the ones who really won the war. Yeah, they did a lot to cause the war. They did a lot to strengthen and enable Hitler. So let's not forget that. But remember, Churchill didn't do the peace deal that, the new MAGA historians are saying he should have. Stalin had the peace deal, did everything he was supposed to, and what does he get for that? On June 22nd, 1941, the largest land invasion in history happens. There's over 3 million Axis soldiers, mostly German, but also including Romanian and Italian and some others, invade the Soviet Union, and before the war is done 4 years later, something like 20 million Soviets will be killed. Men, women, children, soldiers. Thousands of villages and towns are burned down. The infrastructure damage is unimaginable, and in many ways, the Soviet Union never recovered, ever. In some ways, Russia to this day still has never recovered from that. The demographic damage was so extreme with what happened. So if we look at it in terms of what Winston Churchill knew at the time when Hitler was saying, let's do a peace agreement, Hitler had a track record a mile long of violating neutrality and peace agreements. Oh, by the way, I left out the Versailles Treaty, which Hitler violated every part of, and Hitler also withdrew from the League of Nations. So let's also point out those are other international conventions to which Germany was a signatory that Hitler said, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. So if at the time Churchill made the decision, it was clear agreements were paper that could be ripped up and thrown away to Adolf Hitler. And we know from hindsight that not only did Hitler invade a country with whom he had a non-aggression pact, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, but he invaded a country that was his most important ally, who was doing the most to support his war aims and his war economy. So this idea that somehow Adolf Hitler was going to engage in good faith negotiations and come up with a peace agreement and honor that peace agreement on the long term is just foolish. Now you may wonder, why is this happening? Why are these, kind of fake historians going on MAGA podcasts to talk about that? I will get to that in part 2 of this video. All right, thank you.